Hi, I'm Dan Whittaker. I'm here today to analyse the golf swing of Adam Scott. Now, Adam's had a big revival in his golf game this season, mainly thanks to the long putter. But we also know that he has got a different coach than the one he was working with for many years, which was Butch Harmon. The coach he's working with is the Australian Brad Malone. He's actually Adam's brother-in-law. Now, he's changed a few things to do with Adam and his game, and we'll show what he did with Butch, to do with all the way from the posture through to the changes he has made in his backswing. Now, what we see here is we see Adam in a much more standard address position with the shoulders and upper back a bit more slumped rather than the military erect position he was having before. This has got the weight a little bit more on the balls of the feet and the arms hanging down beautifully. What we see is we're seeing a much shallower backswing from Adam's case. Still got this wrist set, but it's not as early as it was. Therefore, the left arm is rotating across the body a lot more. So at the top of the backswing, the left shoulder is matching the shoulder blade much more closely. It's still a fraction steeper than it. One of the big things he has got is he's got the right elbow in front of the right hip and folded down in front of the body. This backswing is a lot more synced up and a lot shallower than it ever was before. He's also got a much tighter turn. In other words, he's turning into the right side in the backswing as opposed to turning over the right side with a lateral move. This can be seen in this video here where we highlight Adam's hips and we take his backswing back and we see, unfortunately the camera's moving, but we can see this right hip's actually turning back. We're not seeing a lateral load over the right side. Okay. But he's got a much tighter turn here, and everything's more synced up with everything turning and rotating together, and this left arm matching that shoulder plane. One of the big major differences we see is when we have a look at the golf swing with the iron from down the line compared to the one here on the right from 06. We see he's a lot more upright in the posture, a lot straighter in the back, and the head's back. Now the problem with having the head as back as he's got it right here is that his eyes are actually looking out from his sockets over here. So he's actually having to look down his nose this way to the golf ball. So he's not actually looking straight out of his eye sockets. He's not using his foveal vision field. Here the head's a lot more down. So the eyes are much more down to the ground on the left hand screen, which is the newer golf swing. We see it's a lot softer in the back right here due to that. Okay, whereas having the head as far back as it was previously put a lot of pressure in here. So this then meant that as he tended to take the club back, he was much more prone to having an earlier set here, okay, going very wide with an early wrist set, but we're losing the pressure point between the upper left arm and the side of the body. And then what he did was, from there all the way to the top, got the arms back fairly steep compared to the shoulder turn. What we tend to find now is as he's turning back, everything's much more connected. He's still setting, but this pressure point of the left arm at this point is much tighter than it was on the right. The left arm more across the body and more parallel to the foot line rather than outside the foot line. The arms then came up steeper, whereas now we're seeing they're coming back a lot more shallow. So at the top here, we see the difference is that the arms are shallower relative to the body turn. On the way through, on the right in 06, we saw that there was a slight stalling out and the hands moved away from the body here. And there was a lot of face rotation through the impact area. So we saw that the face tended to close down a lot relative to the arc right here. What we tend to see now is, as Adam's coming through the hit, is much less face rotation at this point, and the arm, body and club are much more synced up to one another. We see at this point that the club face is actually at 90 degrees to the arc, then it starts to release around with the rotation of the body. Here it was a much more of an arm hit, and he was more flat-footed because we could see that the turn had stalled out at this point because it wasn't possible for him to keep turning through with the arms being as steep as they were, or he'd hit this big pull draw. And we see that the hands are manipulating the face a lot more, and then he comes through to the finish. Now on the left we're seeing a lot more rotation through to the finish, and it's the body turn all the way through without it ever slowing down to allow the hands and arms to strike the ball. We see here on the right how it was coming in front, a bit more handy through the hit, whereas the lower half stalled a touch at this point because it got to the end of its turn, and then the upper body continued through. One of the problems associated with the move that Adam was using back then is that it meant that he had to hang back with the driver. So when he was hitting some drivers, as we can see here, those arms moved away. So it got the arms steeper at the top. He then hung back, the arms then came through, and then he turned again to the finish, leading to some erratic ball striking and fairly high dispersion, which was evidenced when we used to see under pressure he'd be prone to hit a big hook with the driver. It'd be like a hang back to try and get the club attacking from shallow angles because he was too steep at the top. Now what we're seeing is, because everything's so much more synced up, he's able to just unwind it all right through to the finish right here. So it's the body rotations controlling what the arms are doing, as opposed to having to wait for the arms and let the hands kind of extend away through the hit. When we go back again and have a look at something really old from Adam, which is not long after he came on tour and was quite similar to Tiger Woods' move, back then they had a lot of similarities. We saw a much bigger sway load off the golf ball here. We see he's moved off it, massively turning over the right side here, and this was something very evidenced in his swing back then. So he's now over the right side, and what he's going to try and do then is drive onto the left side. The head will hang back, and he's always having to fight the club. What we see now is that he takes the club back, he turns more into the right side as opposed to over it here. So this is now on the right, his more modern swing. It takes him much less movement to get over the left pivot point. He's now already over it, whereas we watch the lateral shift on the left, how much he's trying to get there, but he's not getting there because he's trying to turn so early. So at this point now, his left hip socket, we draw vertical line, drop it down, is behind the left pivot point. We have a look on the right hand screen on the more modern one. At the same point in portion of the golf swing, we draw the same bit from the hip socket here, and we see it's over the outside of the pivot point. So this showed that him turning into the right side could get over that left side, which then allowed him to turn around and never have to wait for the golf club. So he could just keep on turning around now to the finish and be posted up at the finish position. Everything was moving much more in sync. On the left, we saw how he was behind that pivot point and hanging back, and then coming through to the finish after that. But the finish looked a lot longer. I know it was a younger golf swing then, but that lateral move off it really made it difficult for him to get over that left side as quickly as he would like to do. Now, I'm a big fan of this new golf swing of Adam's. What we will see is, when we have a look from this side rear view here, we can see this beautiful rotation back and through the golf ball, and we can see how well he has got himself synced up. He's got the arms, the body and the club all together in the first move. He's got his left arm rotating, and now he's able to unwind, and the club is simply reacting to him. I think that his new coach has done a tremendous job with the golf swing. Not that I'm saying anything bad against what Butch was doing, but I think that the old golf swing was too much dependent on timing, with the arms getting too steep in the backswing, and him always trying to keep the golf club very much in front of him. We could see it here when we had a look at this one from the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. We can see the steep set, the arms going up, which was evidenced with this very upright posture. Everything went up very steep, then he tried to keep it in front of him. Yes, there was very little face rotation at that point, but it was a very upright, keeping it in front swing, almost trying to hold it off all the way to try and stop it from going left. When he got a longer club in his hand, he then was reverting to have to drive the lower half and work underneath it. I believe that this new golf swing or this slight change in this golf swing to sync everything up, getting a bit shallower back, and then using the body rotation through, allowing that to pivot to square the club, is going to see him a lot more consistent, which we've seen this year with his second finish in the Masters, his win the other week at the WGC, and generally having a lot of good showings. I think his ball striking has elevated to another level, and also the use of the long putter is clearly giving him some confidence on the greens. I look forward to hopefully seeing Adam go on and win a major within the next 12 months. Now, hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see any more from myself, you can visit my website at danwhitakergolf.com, or you can contact me at dan@danwhitakergolf.com. Thanks a lot.